The richest families in the world figured out how to keep getting richer after they die. Not their kids, not their grandkids, them, the original founder. Still calling the shots, still controlling assets, still shaping the future, decades after they're buried. That's not an exaggeration. That's the actual function of a trust fund. And it has nothing to do with spoiled kids getting handed a check on their 21st birthday. That's the cover story. The real thing is much more interesting and a lot more uncomfortable. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly how the wealthiest families in the world use trust funds not just to pass money down, but to build systems that compound, control, and grow for generations. And you'll understand why most people will never use this. Not because they can't, but because they don't think this way. Let's start with what a trust fund actually does, because most people get it wrong. You probably think inheritance works like this. Someone dies, their money moves to their kids, the kids take over. Simple, clean, final. And at normal wealth levels, that's basically true. But at serious wealth, that model is a disaster. The second assets transfer directly to heirs. The person who built them loses control forever. The business can be sold. The land can be split. The portfolio can be liquidated. One bad decision, one divorce, one addiction, one idiot son-in-law, and something that took 40 years to build is gone in 18 months. Wealthy families figured out the solution a long time ago. Instead of passing money to people, you pass it into a structure that keeps obeying your instructions long after you're gone. That structure is the trust. Here's how it works. A trust legally separates three things that most people think are the same: ownership, control, and benefit. The trust itself owns the assets. A trustee, a person or institution you appointed, manages them. And the beneficiaries, your heirs, receive the benefits, but only under the rules you wrote before you died. Think about what that means. You can decide that the family business can never be sold, that your grandchildren only receive distributions after they turn 30, that the money can pay for education or fund a new business, but it cannot be used to buy a yacht or fund a lifestyle. You can require trustee approval for any major distribution. You can keep voting control of the company centralized in one place instead of scattered across 40 cousins who all disagree. The founder dies. The instructions keep running. That's the mechanism most people miss entirely. The Rockefeller family has used trusts and layered structures to preserve influence across multiple generations. Rupert Murdoch's family trust became one of the most powerful forces inside his entire media empire, because whoever controls the trust controls the future of the company. These aren't edge cases. This is how serious multi-generational wealth actually operates. Now here's where it gets deeper. Because once a family starts using trusts, something strange happens to the family itself. The money stops moving like personal property. It starts moving like an institution. Think about what it takes to actually manage billions across real estate, private companies, stock portfolios, venture investments, art collections, and international assets. You've got taxes in multiple jurisdictions, legal risks tied to ownership, inheritance planning across 3 generations, constant pressure from markets and regulators. You cannot run that from a dinner table conversation. So, wealthy families build infrastructure around the money. Trusts hold the assets. Holding companies separate liability. Family offices manage the investments. Law firms handle the structure. Tax advisors optimize every transfer. Investment committees set strategy. Trustees approve distributions. At this level, a wealthy family doesn't just have money, they operate like a small government. The Hermes family built holding structures specifically to prevent outside investors from slowly acquiring control of the company. The Porsche and Piech families constructed one of the most complex ownership architectures in Europe, so that descendants could maintain control over Volkswagen through layered governance, not through simple direct ownership. Some of the largest family offices in the world employ hundreds of people: lawyers, portfolio managers, tax, strategists, security teams, political advisors, philanthropy directors, private investment analysts. The ultra-rich don't just have wealth, they build machines around it, and those machines reshape everyone inside them. This is the part nobody talks about. Imagine growing up in one of these families. You know the money exists. You know your future is protected. But you also know the structure is watching. The trust will pay for your education, but not your lifestyle. It will back a business you build, but it won't fund endless luxury. It will open doors, but it will not carry you through them. Once inheritance becomes conditional, behavior becomes strategic. Kids in these families learn early which choices build trust and which ones threaten access. Even relationships start orbiting around governance and reputation. That sounds cold, but think about it from the founder's perspective. They watched what happens when heirs get unlimited access with zero structure. Athletes, lottery winners, celebrities, first-generation entrepreneurs. The pattern repeats constantly. Massive wealth creation, followed by lifestyle inflation, poor decisions, family conflict, and financial collapse within a generation. Old money families studied those failures, and they realized something uncomfortable. Money amplifies personality. A disciplined person with wealth becomes more powerful. An impulsive person with wealth becomes more dangerous. An insecure person with unlimited access can spend their entire life trying to feel important and never get there. So the most sophisticated families evolve trusts into behavioral tools. Incentive trusts increase distributions when heirs hit specific milestones: graduating university, maintaining employment, building a business, contributing to philanthropy, staying clean. The structure itself starts rewarding certain identities while quietly discouraging others. At the highest levels, the goal isn't just passing down money. It's engineering the kind of people who will be trusted to control that money next. That's a completely different objective than what most people imagine when they hear the words trust fund. But even that isn't the deepest level of this, because the real power of trust funds has almost nothing to do with behavior. It has everything to do with time. Here's the thing most people never think about. Compounding is extraordinarily sensitive to interruptions. You've probably heard that $10,000 invested and left alone for decades can grow into something extraordinary. That's true. But almost nobody gets to experience an uninterrupted timeline like that. Life keeps hitting the reset button. A recession, a medical expense, a divorce, an inheritance split between 5 siblings. Every few decades, financial momentum breaks and has to rebuild from scratch. Wealthy families figured out how to eliminate the reset. The trust protects core assets from being dismantled and redistributed every generation. Businesses stay alive longer. Land stays held instead of being sold off. Ownership stays concentrated instead of fragmenting. The machine never stops running. And once the timeline extends long enough, normal math starts producing outcomes that feel almost unfair. Harvard's endowment has compounded continuously for centuries because the institution is designed to preserve core capital and only spend a portion of the returns. Some European families held strategic land so long that entire cities grew up around property their ancestors acquired. Family-controlled businesses that survive for 100 years build advantages no startup can replicate, not because of genius, but because of accumulated time. This is why old money feels different from new money. New money reflects a successful person. Old money reflects a successful system that survived long enough for compounding to become something enormous. The math isn't magic, the timeline is. And once the timeline gets long enough, something else happens. The wealth outgrows the family. A company built by one generation keeps operating decades later. Investments made by a grandparent keep compounding after their grandchildren are born. Foundations fund universities, hospitals, research centers, and political networks that keep moving through society long after the original founder is gone. Eventually, the money stops behaving like personal wealth. It starts behaving like a permanent force, one that shapes industries, institutions, and generations of people who never once met the person who started it. That's the actual endgame of a trust fund, not a check for your kids. A system designed to survive you. A machine that keeps compounding, keeps influencing, and keeps extending the reach of a person who no longer exists. Most people will hear this and think it doesn't apply to them. And for most people, the full institutional version of this doesn't. But the underlying logic applies at every level. Don't transfer assets directly when structure protects them better. Don't let compounding restart if you can prevent it. Don't build something that depends entirely on individual personalities to survive. Those aren't billionaire principles. Those are principles that billionaires just happen to apply more aggressively than everyone else. The difference between old money and everyone else isn't intelligence. It's not even luck. It's that old money stopped thinking about wealth as something you spend and started thinking about it as something you architect. The system outlives the person. That's the whole idea. And the families who figured that out earliest are still running the world today.